How many units did you say you had?
So we're at 70 signed right now, but at the moment we are on board in about 2 weeks.
As a business, what's your turnover?
Last month we did 230,000.
Meet Kieran and Ciaran. Just 2 years ago, they were working 9-to-5 jobs as recruiters. Today, they run a booming Airbnb business where they've got 70 properties under management. And in this episode, we're going to dive into their story. You're going to hear the exact steps that they took to escape their 9-to-5 and build a profitable property business. The tactics of going from your first deal to generating tens of thousands of pounds per month in cash flow, and the systems that you'd actually need to have in place to make 6 figures every single month.
Kieran and Ciaran, thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Pleasure to be here.
Long time coming.
I know, yeah, I'm excited for it. We've met like 2 years ago now.
May 2023.
Whoa, he knows. He knows it. May
Date's locked in.
2023. And you guys since then have gone on to build a pretty impressive Airbnb and service accommodation business. I don't often talk about service accommodation or Airbnb on my channel, but you guys have absolutely smashed it, and I just thought I need to get you guys on because the listeners, the viewers, they need to hear about it. So in your own words, could you give me a snapshot of who you are and what your business looks like today?
Yeah, so our business is Evolve Stays, so evolvestays.com. There are 2 sort of business models that we're running at the moment. So you've got the rent-to-rent model. So this is where our business rents properties from landlords, and then we occupy the properties with contractors and professionals coming to the area. We'll also advertise on platforms like Airbnb, Booking.com, our direct channel as well. Then the flip side, which is our sort of primary business focus at the moment, is the management business. This is where we partner up with landlords who may have buy-to-let properties. They're looking to earn more from the properties or get a bit more control as well. And we would do the same thing, advertise on Airbnb, Booking.com, but on a management agreement. So we actually earn from management fees. So we charge a commission on what we generate in a given month. So there's 2 models that we do.
Yeah, nice. And you're starting to teach other people to do this sort of thing as well, right?
Yeah, just got our teeth into it. It's something that we fell into. You know, we post daily on LinkedIn, so naturally we've had people sort of reach out. I know Kieran's brought in quite a few more people than me on this. Your LinkedIn guru at the moment.
Every day.
Yeah, everyday posts. Yeah. And then in terms of the Airbnb business, how many units did you say you had?
So we're at 70 signed right now. So they're basically we're at like 66 live, 4 more that are in acquisitions right now. So they should be on next week. Then we've got like 10 more that literally we should be onboarding. So it should push us up to around the 80 mark. But at the moment, we are onboarding about 2 weeks. So we are pushing it up.
Okay. So for anyone who's maybe watching who doesn't fully get that whole model, just tell me, if I'm a landlord, I'm renting my house. Typically, if it's a house, got a 3-bed house in Manchester and not happy with my rent, I could go to you guys and you could manage it as like a short-term stay. Is that right?
Yeah, it's similar to like, because there's 3 different types. Obviously, you've got an AST, you've got HMOs, which is house multiple occupation, then you've got service accommodation route. So there's less rights with the Airbnb side of things. So obviously landlords will come to us, we'll partner with them, we'll put it on platforms like Airbnb, Booking.com, then corporate travel agents then rent out an hourly rate. So you can see typically 30 to 50% higher returns going to Airbnb compared to other business models. So yeah.
Okay. So let's say I've got do you do houses? Is this houses, apartments? Because I've seen people talk about, like a 1-bed flat in Manchester, but I've also heard people say they don't perform very well. So what does a typical house look like that you would manage?
We try and say as a general rule of thumb for our business now, like we've been there and done that and took on the smaller houses, your 1-bed apartments. So the sweet spot we found is your 3 beds plus. So for example, if you was to get a 3-bed in Salford, you're absolutely laughing. You know, if you can get 4 and 5 bed, even better. And the reason being is because you can occupy more people. So your property can be marketed to a wider audience and a wider group of businesses that might want to book your properties. Whereas a 2-bed, you're quite restricted to how many people you can get in, to be honest.
And not only that as well, because there's so many more properties coming in the market now than there has been before. With 1-bedroom apartments, you are competing with hotels. Yeah. So again, it's like you are saturating yourself a little bit, which is why going with these bigger properties, it's just 10 times better. You see high returns, rents a little bit more, so it makes it more a lucrative business model.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, you've been established now for 2 years?
Yeah, so we started actually doing rent to rent 2 years ago. We started Evolve Property Management, which is the management business, 18 months ago. So yeah.
Okay. And as a business, what does your revenue look like? What's your turnover?
Well, last month we did 230,000 in revenue. Now, that includes properties in the management business and the rent to rent business, so they're sort of combined.
Yeah.
So 230 we did last month, July.
That's pretty impressive, isn't
Yeah.
it? Considering you started 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's gone really fast. I think we've scaled up pretty quickly in comparison to other operators. I think with our background in terms of what we did in our previous roles when we were working full-time jobs, we've sort of brought those skills into Airbnb, which has helped us grow, to be honest.
Yeah. Like I said, we met a couple of years ago and now we work in the same office building. So we spend a lot of time together. I see you guys. I've been watching you guys graft for about 6 months now, which it's amazing to see it from the outside and see you guys grow so quickly. You're building out the team. It's really impressive. But I think what works really well is your dynamic as business partners. You work really well together and you push each other a lot. Where did you guys meet? How did this all begin for you two?
Well, tell them the love story.
Yeah.
JD Gyms in Salford Gym. JD Gyms in Salford. So we met, when was it, about 3.5 years ago now?
Yeah.
So
honestly,
I think it was just like jumping in between sets and stuff. And obviously you go in a sauna, then you eventually meet, then you get chatting. But I was really impressed with his story as well, because he was like 20, 21 at the time. But like the amount of money he was making in recruitment just before that, I was like, I need to be doing something similar, because he was making like what, 5-6 grand a month in recruitment. And to do that at 19, I was like, I'm in the wrong industry. I was doing accounts. I thought it's gonna take another 5, 6, 7 years before I get qualified to even earn.
You were studying?
Yeah, I was studying AAT. I was just like, it's gonna take way too long to get where I need to get to. So I was like, yeah, that's a true love story.
I fully thought you guys knew each other from growing up,
People think that, like, we met.
like school friends sort of thing.
No. So people that watching that have been to a JD gym, they're very social gym, so people always like get chatting. And like Kieran said, there was a value exchange between me and Kieran, because he was looking at what I was doing and he wanted to earn more money and get into more of like a sales role, which is what I was doing at the time. But then on the flip side, I was already looking into property at that point. I was looking into different models, rent to rent, sourcing, buying. I was looking into all of it. And then when I met Kieran, we got chatting and he mentioned, I think you were 21 at the time, he already owned a house. I was like, how do you own a house at 21? I was like, I was inspired by it. So naturally we just thought, right, let's put our heads together, let's see what we can do. And yeah, just went for it. And I think around that time when we started looking into it, that's when we actually met you for the first time as well.
Yeah.
Paid for the deal, like, what is it? Deal
selling launchpad.
Yeah. But just before that, how did you have a house at what, 18, 19?
Yeah, because I've always been like curious, because like, I don't know, getting out of school, I was like, when you see these people like driving like really nice cars, I thought like, I need to get one of these. I didn't understand how people actually made money, but then like I always like used to watch YouTube, and you used to come up years and years ago anyway, like watching all these people in property make money. I was like, I need to go down this route. So I eventually got into it. I got into it with my brother. So it was going through conveyancing. I was like 19 at the time. So I was obviously during COVID, I was just saving all my money up, and me and him put the money together, bought the house. It was no money down. We say it's no money down, but we was doing some of the works to it. Again, I still don't even know how to paint a wall proper. So it's just like we were just scrambling around trying to do stuff. But yeah, that's how it all sort of happened.
Yeah, so you just saved up money over COVID and bought a house, normal rental at that point,
just a normal
buy
rental.
to let.
Yeah, in Wigan, it was just like normal rental. Still got it to this day, but got another one as well now.
And then you were really looking into the rent to rents, you say, in the Airbnb.
Yeah.
What piqued your interest about that? Where did you hear about it all?
I feel like everybody looks at property and sees it as a business model that you can earn from. Like growing up, you say, your family are buying houses, you see people on social media doing it. I tried a couple of businesses in the past, so I've always wanted to do something for myself. So property was something that I looked at for something that I can use, a tool that I can use to get there and build a business from. And that was pretty much it, really. And that's obviously when I met Kieran. I think the model we decided to use at the time was deal sourcing. So we started looking into that. We did source a couple of deals as well, which gave us a capital to eventually pivot into the rent-to-rents.
Yeah. It's crazy that you only met, like, what, 3-4 years ago?
Yeah.
It's honestly, you share a personal bank account, don't you?
Share a car,
You
live together.
You live together, share a
accounts.
car.
The other thing we don't share is women.
Yeah, not yet anyway. So the starting the deal sourcing, that was the first thing that you, maybe apart from your property that you bought.
Yeah.
After that, the first thing that you kind of did in property was source property deals.
Yeah.
What was that journey like?
To be fair, I thought it was much easier to do purely from our standpoint because we do sales. So where we used to do recruitment, where we'd obviously bridge the gap from finding a client and obviously getting someone to put them in the job, like this one, we find the investor, then obviously get a property and bridge them both together. So doing that, it was sort of simple, but we was like, we wanted more money. We wanted to replace our income because I just hated work and we needed to get out. But we sourced that deal. There was a few other people that we could have sourced for.
Yeah, I think we utilised our network. So when I was 18, 19, I ran like an events business with a couple of mates and was running events in different venues in Manchester. Really good fun at the time. And with that, we was working with the owners of different nightclubs. And there was one guy in particular who owned a couple of nightclubs that we actually hosted events at. So we built a good relationship with him. When we started getting into deal sourcing, I put an Instagram story up saying, if you've got X amount of capital and you want to invest into property, let us know. And he DM'd me on Instagram. And he was like, I've got £500,000 liquid. I've worked with you in the past, trust you, and I want to get X amount of properties. We ended up sourcing 2 deals for him at the time, which he now Airbnbs, and he's still got them. He's absolutely flying.
We're trying to get the management off him, but we won't let us.
Yeah, he won't let us manage it. He's doing it well himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did a session with him when he took the deal on and just basically plugged our systems. I tried to sort him out at the time, and he's killing it, to be honest.
Yeah. That's amazing. That you were able to kind of just take what you'd learned and that your systems would just plug it into to his business. I imagine that's probably what you're doing quite a bit now with other people, yeah?
Yeah, specifically with people who like got 1 or 2 units. Like it's good we had someone come in the office called Jonte, so he's actually got a few Airbnbs himself, but he was struggling with the scaling side of things. Like I said, you can't really scale without having the actual systems in place. So he come and spent half a day with us, put all the basic systems in place, give him sort of like roadmap of what he needs to do next, and now he's got that in place. He can focus on the main thing, which is sales and marketing. Yeah.
So those first deals that you sourced for your client from your other business, was that something that they bought? Did they buy it, or was it a rent to rent?
We bought them cash. 2 apartments in Manchester cash.
Nice.
Yeah, refurbed them as well. There were two rundown apartments right in the city centre, M3 postcode. So literally like just on the border of Salford and city centre. Really rundown apartments, but the location was, because with Airbnb, location's king. So he thought, let's do it. It was a good deal. Spent about 15k per one on refurbing them, and it's turned them into like really luxury, high-end essays.
And they're performing really well.
They're doing better than some of ours.
Yeah.
Because of the location, they're doing really well.
Yeah. Okay, so looking back at your on that deal that you did, or those 2 deals that you did, they were your first 2 deals, right? In your service accommodation, like on that journey.
Yeah.
What do you feel like was the biggest learning curve from that first deal that you did?
Biggest learning curve. They took absolutely ages to complete, and what we did at the time, we didn't agree with the investor that we take the sourcing fees up front. So what me and Kieran were doing was putting all this work in. I was dealing with, it was through an estate agent directly. They were an absolute nightmare to work with, and it was about 6 months before we even got the fees from those deals. So after that, we thought, if we are going to do sourcing, we're just going to do it completely bespoke, to be honest. That probably was the biggest lesson learned, because putting all this work in, we didn't reap the rewards for 6 months.
When did you start taking on management, and what was that first sort of deal that you did for management of Airbnb units?
So we actually started the management business in January 2024. Is that right?
Yeah.
2024. So we took on our first 2 rent-to-rents in August 2023, and then got our third in December 2023. And that's when we partnered up with our business partner, George Burns, in January 2024, and pretty much immediately took on properties to manage.
Yeah, we had a few properties from, obviously, connections we knew, so they knew what we was doing with the rent-to-rent space. They said, well, obviously this property they've got is underperforming, so can we take on a management basis? So we did, plugged our systems in and did start to perform for it. We did have that property. To be fair, we still got one of them properties still currently as management, but the investor who took that rent-to-rent on, because we did management for rent-to-rent, he exited the deal. So then obviously we still have it to this day anyway, but we've took on the guaranteed rent. Yeah.
Okay, and then, like, what does it look like? Like, paint me a picture. If I'm a landlord who wants to start renting my property on Airbnb, what sort of numbers am I looking at? What do I need to factor in? What are the costs involved in something like that?
It's crazy because, like, if you are a landlord, you've got the basic stuff, which are like your mortgage, your bills. The only other real like expense to the business is like your OTA fees. So if you're like
What are they?
like online travel agent fees. So if you advertise on Airbnb or Booking.com, for example, Airbnb, they charge 15% plus commission. For their commission. So if you bring in, let's say it's £4,000 in revenue, they charge 18% of that. That gets deducted. Then the only other thing after that is cleaning. So we do know a lot of other operators who do have a lot of cleaning fees on their business because they do more short stays. Whereas what we do try to target is much longer stays. So the longer the stay is, obviously less cleaning fees occur. But the more people you also convert from these Airbnb platforms, you get to save in their commission as well.
Yeah.
So realistically, if, like, let's say you brought in 3K a month for a client after their bills and stuff, could be looking at about £1,000 to £2,000 profit.
Then with buy-to-lets, rent's a little bit different, but buy-to-lets, you're looking £1,500 and even $2,000 in some cases.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Considering most people, when they're buying buy-to-lets, they're looking at 250, 300
Couple
profit.
£100, yeah.
Yeah, and that's, boiler breaks, that's your year's worth of profit wiped out.
That's why a lot of landlords are making a switch. Like, we're getting 5 to 10 leads every single day from landlords who are just queuing up to give them our properties. Because I think with standard rentals at the moment, it's getting very tough. You've got different regulations coming into play, you've got interest rates going up, so it's squeezing the margins out of a lot of landlords. So they are looking for that solution now. So they've got a chance to make more money from their investments or recoup their investment back faster, but at the same time they gain a lot more control over the property, which I think, to be honest with you, a lot of landlords that I'm speaking with are favouring the control element rather than the financial element as well.
They get a lot more control over it as well. Like, if we're managing the property for them, because there's constant changeover, we get to actually inspect every property upon checkout. So we get our, obviously, maintenance people to go in, obviously, on a proactive basis, fix any issues, make sure if anything is coming up that we have flagged to us. That way, because if you're on a normal AST, then it's like, well, if we're renting out for 6 months to a year, they do an inspection, they go there, they're like, what is this? What's it turned into? So we're actually like proactively on top of it before issues arise.
Yeah, and I imagine even like your cleaners are regularly feeding back, like, this needs changing, this needs sprucing up, this needs updating.
Yeah. We've got quite a rigorous process in terms of cleaning and housekeeping. We call our cleaners housekeepers because they're not just cleaners, they do a lot of things for the business. And if you are doing Airbnb, your cleaning team's your most valuable asset in the business by a mile. 100%. So when cleaners go to the property, this is minimum every 2 weeks. So regardless if we get a long-term booking, they'll go in every 2 weeks. So we've got eyes on the property.
Yeah.
When they get there, they have to complete a full cleaning and maintenance inspection. So they're not only checking the appliances, they're checking the wall conditions, floor conditions. Are the light bulbs working? Are the bulbs all on and working? The plumbing, is it working? They do a speed test on the Wi-Fi and also document pictures of every single room.
It's crazy. We've got them doing everything.
It's
got to be done though, because it's
Yeah,
like, well, we can't physically be at every single property when stuff goes wrong. So there's a way of us having eyes on the property without actually being there.
Yeah.
As you scale to 100 plus units, I can't go to every property.
No.
You can't. I wouldn't even try and get him to do that anyway.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to have like these procedures in place.
Yeah, that's mad as well, because it feels a bit of an injustice to call them just cleaners. I can see why you call them housekeepers.
They're not cleaners. They're not.
They're like on the ground managers, aren't they?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So then you've started your management business, your management company. What did you find in those first few properties that you took on that you were managing? What, again, in that moment, what was the biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge was, well, at the time, me and Kieran were both working full-time jobs in recruitment, like long hours, 8:30 till 6 p.m. every single day in the office. So the biggest challenge for us was juggling the two, to be honest with you. We scaled up to 17 units before we even hired a VA, and we were still working a full-time job.
Really?
Yeah. So
crazy.
it was intense.
It was toxic towards when we left work as well, innit?
I understand why, because obviously the director of the business, they wanted to get the most out of me and Kieran to do the job, but our heads were elsewhere. Was constantly thinking about the Airbnb stuff. There was guests calling us 24/7. We had issues that you can't ignore. So, that was the biggest challenge. It was just juggling the two, to be honest.
So towards the end, like, I got pulled into a meeting room, must have been about 8 times within like 2 weeks. Like, it was crazy. I had to put my phone in my locker as well, because like, they kept constantly clocking me doing it. So I was going into meeting rooms trying to answer phones, and like they'd look at me and like spot me doing it. I'm like,
Really?
God's sake.
Yeah.
Did you get fired or did you leave?
I
amicably?
left.
I left, but
Yeah,
let you go straight away.
They didn't fight you.
Kieran
going.
put his notice in and said, just leave today.
Really? Did they say that?
They
Yeah.
didn't like me, they liked him.
What happened? Did you leave at the same time?
No.
No, so I handed him a notice. Basically, that was for me. There was like an excuse for me to get out earlier. So I'd done that. I left, got put on garden leave. Then he handed his notice in like a week later, but he had to serve his full thing.
So
Yeah.
so when you started managing properties, that was when you started getting actual revenue generated. You built up to 17 units. You were still working a full-time job.
Yeah.
From the moment of taking on that first property that you managed, how long was it before you ended up leaving your jobs?
Well, we took our first one on in January. So obviously we scaled to free rent to rents by obviously December time. By that point, we had enough proof to landlords to say we can manage your property. We know how to do dynamic pricing. We know how to guest vet and all that sort of stuff. So we took that on. Then we got to April, and that's when like we fully left. But it was,
Yeah, mine was May. I put my notice in May.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was December when you kicked off the rent to rents.
Yeah.
You knew what you were doing. You started taking on management in January.
Yeah.
And then by May, you'd both replaced your income. You were
Yeah.
you were kind of working
Yeah.
for yourselves.
We didn't replace our income.
But you gave yourselves enough.
Gave ourselves enough. Yeah. Our business partner George at the time, he was doing property full time. He really, gave us a motivation we needed to do it, because, I was earning good money in recruitment, so I always had in my head I need to replace my income before I leave, but it wasn't the case. I only needed to make $2,000 a month to survive. So at the point where we had that and a little bit more, that's when we did it.
Yeah, it was good to have a business partner like George, because he really encouraged us to get to that next level.
Yeah.
I don't think without him giving us that push, or him even like believing in us, we'd be where we are today. No way.
He told us to do it in Jan.
Did it?
Yeah.
Straight away.
Just told you to get out.
Yeah.
So I was scratching my eyes. I thought what was going on.
So you quit your job, and you'd been managing 17 units or more. You had a VA.
Yeah.
You had staff.
We
Yeah.
we didn't get our first VA till like June time.
yeah.
The reason that gave us the confidence to leave in like April, May, because we knew summer was coming up, so we knew like was going to be making more money anyway. So it give us enough time. So it's like, well, if for whatever reason it happened, I can go and get another job. But luckily, on good job, we put in a lot of work. It got us to that next level.
Yeah.
Because that was 2024.
Yeah,
May
yeah,
2024.
2024.
Wow.
And now we're here.
And now you're here.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the journey then. Like talk to me about the journey from that point. You've left your job. What did you do? Did you just work from home? Did you hire more people? Did you take out like what was the sort of? Because I found when I quit my job, I was like, oh, I'm going to be absolutely rammed, and I wasn't that busy. I was surprised at how much free time I had, because you think you're going to quit your job and you're going to be inundated with work, and you have to go out and get it.
You have to make yourself busy.
Yeah. So what did you do? What did that first sort of week, month maybe look like when you quit your jobs?
It was hard, because as soon as we left, there was a moment where we was like, so what do we do now? But the good thing is, because at the time when we had 17 properties, the only thing we needed to focus on was sales, because we just needed to get more properties at the time. We was decent at running them, managing them. They were making money. So the next step was to just get more and go full steam. So what we actually did, I lived in an apartment in Salford. Kieran would come to mine every single day. We'd work from home. We'd get a list of all the estate agents in Manchester. There was a list of about 300. Kieran started at the top.
Spreadsheet.
There's a lot. There's a lot. Yeah, we've put in the graft. So Kieran would start at the top. I'd start at the bottom, and we'd just call through every single estate agent on that list. And then what we would do, we'd categorise the estate agents that said, yeah, I'm open to it. We'd categorise the ones where we had an inkling that they do it. They might have said they'd done it in the past, or they was beating around the bush a little bit. They were going to maybes. And then whoever said yes or maybe, we would the next week walk into every single one of them and just pitch what we do.
The good thing about it is like when we left, we didn't actually have like a system what we'd be doing. We didn't have a schedule. I was going like for like the first week, I was like, we'll just go gym in the middle of the day. Then it's what I mean. Then I was after that, I was just like, well, I was just working 8:30 till 6 every day in recruitment with this like regime. So like for the morning, for example, at 9:30 till about 12ish, I'd be sitting there just hammering agent calls. Then I'd be trying to like manage the business during the afternoon.
Yeah.
And anytime I can get some viewings in the evening, I'd just go and do the viewings. It was just literally, I just thought, I'm going to get a strict schedule, exactly how we're doing in recruitment. And it transferred over. I was like, well, we actually are getting more sales, was closing one a week at that point as well. So it did work really well.
Yeah. And like the thing is, the business model, the business we was working for in recruitment, it was working. So their model worked, it's proven. So we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. We just plugged in everything we learned in recruitment and put it into Airbnb and rent to rent.
Yeah.
So, you know, Kieran was getting to my apartment for 8:30 in the morning. We'd do our morning meeting like we just would in recruitment. We'd plan out the day. And then between 10 and 12, you're on your sales calls, you're on your BD, calling estate agents. And then afternoon, you're doing all your fulfillment, you know, managing the operations.
Yeah. That's amazing that you've just taken, like you say, a proven business model in a different industry.
Yeah.
But you then just applied that sort of process and system from day one. And I don't think many people would actually, when they do that, the idea of quitting the job, going full-time in property, I think a lot of people do just sit around twiddling their thumbs and maybe just go and get another job. Or I don't know many people that create a spreadsheet of, 400, 300 estate agents, call every single one, and then go into every possible one you can,
Just Manchester
and
as
pitch
well.
them.
There's like 10 other areas we've done that. Like
Yeah,
we'll spend days out in Liverpool, Leeds, we'll go in Cheshire, we even like try and go to like York and all that sort of stuff. Just like every agent, like on that sheet, like most agents I've spoke to, it's just about, can you like nail the relationship from there? Can you take it a step further? Well, if they say they don't do it, can you make sure, can you get something out of them that says that they have done it in the past? And it's like, well, they're a goer. I need to get into them and try and get something from them.
If I want to start managing some Airbnb units, or want to do a rent-to-rent business, or I have, I want to kind of do what you guys do, how do I balance systems and processes versus sales, acquisitions, business development? Because you've done that really well, I think. And obviously there will be, you can say it in a podcast and it sounds like, oh, we just had 17 units, but there will have been so many challenges in that. How do you balance the whole, how do I get my management right, my systems, my processes, my fulfillment, but also go out and do my business development? Which one do I prioritize? How does that look early on?
Yeah, you prioritize sales.
do?
In my opinion, some people say grow slowly, get the 5-star reviews on every single property, get your systems right first and then grow. Mine and Kieran's mindset was not that. It was sales comes first and then the operations come after. So like I said earlier, we'd create work blocks during the day. So between 10 and 12, no matter what, we are on agent calls. And no matter what, one day a week, we're going visiting estate agents, walking in, showing our faces and pitching what we do. And then the afternoon would be your fulfillment. So, improving your systems, setting up your channel managers, making sure your dynamic pricing's on point, all the softwares that you need, that buys back your time. Speaking to guests, for example, chasing reviews, all the operations would come afterwards in the afternoon. So I'd just create work blocks and stick to it.
In my eyes, cash flow is king. So unless you've got cash coming in, you're not going to be able to run as a business. People say they want to get into business for the passion and stuff. I'm like, I just wanted to transfer the skills what I had, which was sales and marketing, to then try and make money elsewhere. Even now, there's generally zero balance. Like yesterday, working 16 hours, Saturday, Sunday, working 16 hours. It's just like, it is genuinely non-stop. So people saying they need to get the systems in place first. I'm like, yeah, it's good to an extent, but you need to focus on actually bringing money into the business, because if you've got no money coming in, then what are you going to do? And my saying is like, sales cures all. So if you think you're ever in a rut, it's like, you just make more sales, get more money in the bank, and you'll be sorted.
Yeah.
I actually think there's so much gold in that, because one of the reasons why you've probably been successful then is because you've had that sales first mentality. 100%. I think a lot of people, whether it's property investment or a property business or any business, the biggest thing that seems to kill people is procrastination and being a busy fool. Because I think what a lot of people will probably do is, right, I've quit my job, great, I'm going to go into property, I'm going to set up an Airbnb management company, and then they just sit around, because the easy thing to do to feel productive, not necessarily be productive, but to feel productive, would be to work on your channel manager, tweak your landing page, work on your call a few cleaners and make sure they can do a good job, and all the stuff that isn't going to actually bring money in. Whereas the lifeblood of every business is the revenue. It's bringing in cash flow. And you have to start with that first. Anything that I've ever done in my life, you have to bring the cash in first, and then you can kind of figure it out afterwards.
I feel like it's the avoided part though. Sales, a lot of people, I've been there myself. I remember my first sales call in recruitment. It's horrible. It's embarrassing. You get overwhelmed, and it is the thing that people avoid the most. And I think that's why that happens, because they want to get into property, they want to get into rent to rent. They might quit the jobs, and then they focus on everything but the sales, because they know deep down they've not got the confidence to do it. But genuinely, if they do just make the switch and change their mindset a little bit and focus on the sales, then they'll just grow a business much faster than they would beating around the bush.
Most of the time, a lot of people have got nothing to lose. So
Yeah.
you should just have zero shame. Like, we're from council estates. It's like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? I go back to my mum's. I go and get a job at Tesco. Like, nothing wrong with that. But it's like, well, I might as well just go and try and make it work.
Yeah.
So if you're just blocking out time to think, right, I can call 60 agents today. I can call 60 agents tomorrow. I can go then view 10 of these agents the next day. Try and build a relationship. It's like, what's shame in it? I remember that one in Chester when I walked into an agent. It was literally like 20 letting agents there and estate agents. And I knew they didn't do it. I thought, I'm just going to go in anyway and ask. And they all just started laughing when I walked out. So I was like, well, obviously, do you do, obviously, we run a service accommodation business. Is something you deal with? Just like, no, just like laughing. I thought, so what?
Yeah, and the guy was...
Is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a bit embarrassing, because we walked in and there was a guy at the back who was obviously the owner of the company. Who was like, I've dealt with you, like, you type of people all the time. Like, it's not something we do. If I wanted to do it, I'd do it myself. But in front of like 20 people, but we just walked in there because we knew we was going to get rejected, because we've already spoke to them. They've already said no. But we just walked in anyway because we thought, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Have you ever read the book Go for No?
I've not.
No.
Have you heard about it?
No.
It's this. It's a tiny book. It's really, really small, but it's essentially, the principle is, rather than trying to go at it in your sales process or your business development as, I just need one more yes, I just need to get a yes. If you actually just say, my target is no's, then you're way more resilient when it comes, if you expect it. So if you said, right, I'm going to walk into 50 estate agents this week, and I'm not going to stop walking into estate agents until I get 50 people say no and laugh me out the room. Well, actually, when you go and do that, you will come across people who say, no, we do that, and it does work, and, let's partner together.
Yeah.
Going for no, being comfortable with rejection and pushing through it, and almost expecting it and treating it as I'm going to celebrate every no that I get, because it's one more step towards a yes.
It's just a game. Like, you will get told no by 90% of the estate agents you approach. So, yeah.
And they look down on it as well.
Yeah, they do, for sure. Because there's a lot of people in this game that are not running a proper business. They're not professional. I think that's the key to getting estate agents on board is professionalism. Just looking professional, the way you dress when you walk in, how you structure your first phone call, what's your follow-up process like, have you got a website, have you got a brochure? If you don't have these things, you're not going to get properties.
Yeah.
You're not going to get any.
You've got now 70 units.
Yes.
You've got a lot of, experience. You've got photos all over your website. You're a proper professional outfit. There's tea. You've got staff.
Yeah.
It's a legitimate business. When you get started, though, how do you give those agents that confidence that you, although maybe you don't have any units yet, or maybe you've got one or two, how do you give off that sense of, I am professional, I do know what I'm talking about?
I think you can get them straight away. I mean, I'll give the example of Rach and Ike. They came in they're a couple based in Altrincham. They came in for a training day with us. We gave them all of our materials, explained how we structure our calls. They had no properties, but a week after doing the training day, we did an interview with them outside the first property in Salford.
Yeah.
And that was direct to landlord. It weren't an agent, but it's the same sort of thing. They created a website first. They had a professional logo. They created a brochure which talked about their personal stories, their interest in property, what they do, the values of the company, etc. And from the get-go, it just looked professional. So they didn't even question it. If they did question it, it might have been a different story, and there would have been, more objection handling to do. But straight away, because they positioned themselves as professionals, They didn't even bat an eyelid.
And that was a rent to rent.
And that was a rent to rent.
So would you say maybe your first deal will be better off going to a landlord because it's easier to turn them than it is an estate agent? Or?
Yeah, I'd say so. Our first 2 deals did come from an estate agent, but they did come from a couple who were getting rid of their Airbnbs.
Yeah.
But if you are going to get in with landlords, they're more likely to give you the proper compared to going down the agent route, because obviously if they go direct, they save an agency fees anyway. They get to vet their guest. So they might do it a complete different way to how an estate agent would do it. But I see a lot of people, everyone who we pretty much teach to get into Airbnb, or everyone who know who's got in it, did start off going direct to landlords.
Yeah. And how do you, what's your pitch? How do you talk to them? You get, let's say you've picked up the phone, someone said, I'm assuming you do it through adverts like Facebook ads or something like that. You do some kind of marketing where a landlord says, or a podcast like this, you know, a landlord might be watching this and go, do you know what, I'd love to work with these guys. Yeah. They you know, give you a call. I'd love to have you manage my property, or I'm interested in it.
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
Doing it managed compared to pitching for guaranteed rent is different.
Yeah.
Because obviously guaranteed rent, you'll need to convince the landlord. But because obviously we do the management route, because we do paid ads, SEO, referral, and obviously cold outreach as well. That's how our leads come in.
Yeah.
So if anyone leads coming in, they're already pre-qualified anyway. It's just about finding about their property and then booking a meeting off the back of that.
Yeah. So you guys run predominantly management, isn't it? You work with people to manage their units rather than rent to rent. So that's your main focus. So talk to me about the benefits to a landlord then. Why would they do that? What is your sales pitch? How, you said you vetted them as well. How do you do that? What does that look like?
What, for management?
Yeah. If a landlord got in touch with you off the back of a YouTube video like this or an advert that you put out and said, I'm interested in this.
Yeah.
How does it all work?
Yeah.
How would you convince them that it's the right thing to do?
Yeah, well, because I handle acquisitions out of Offstage. So when a lead comes in, I'm giving them an initial phone call, and that first phone call, from our perspective, it's just information gathering, because I'm really finding out if they're a good fit for us just as much as we're a good fit for them. So I'll be asking them questions about the property, you know, how many bedrooms, where's it located, what's the background, you know, why are you looking into Airbnb? They might say, I've had difficulties with tenants previously, I've had void periods, I've had missed rent payments, I've had people not looking after my property. So all I'm doing there is find out their pain points, and then I can sell on the back of why Evolve Stays is a good fit. Because, you know, on the management side, like we mentioned earlier, we're getting professionally clean every 2 weeks. We've got full-time maintenance workers in Manchester. If issues are not dealt with in a timely fashion, we get bad reviews, so that means we have to get them solved straight away. So that covers that pain point. You've got missed payments. Every guest or tenant that stays with us, or client, they pay up front for the booking. Even if it's a 5-6 week stay, they pay up front. So there's no issues with payments whatsoever. And in terms of the tenant issues, you could have tenants that you know, they're not paying rent on time, for example, or they are claiming squatters' rights in properties. You know, the guests that are staying in our properties, they don't actually get any of those rights. They're classed as lodgers because they're there on a short-term basis. So a lot of landlords love that as well. So yeah, it's just basically a fact find. And then what I do, we get pictures of the property. We need to see the condition. We need to see if it's the right fit. And then off the back of that, if it is the right fit, then we do booking the meetings and viewings, etc., and take it from there.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like almost stupid to just rent as a buy-to. Hearing you say this, it's like we've already had the conversation around, you know, me giving some properties to you guys, because I'm like, when I hear this, it's like, they're just, especially with the changes in renters' rights, I think for me that's the big turning point where I'm going, like, it could be a nightmare, like in the future, managing some of these tenants. Like, what happens if this or that happens? Whereas if you go down the Airbnb route, you go down the service accommodation route, like you say, they don't have those same sorts of rights. And therefore you have more freedom, I guess, as a landlord.
The good thing is you get to choose your guest profile with Airbnb as well. Not a lot of people talk about that. Airbnb, it's got a stigma around it for parties, but it has matured a lot as a platform over the past couple of years. So if you like have one night stays as 1 night minimums, you are going to attract the wrong types of guests. With the right like guest vetting, so people signing T's and C's, restrict T's and C's, get their IDs, get proper safety deposit from them as well. Then you put your minimum nights up to 5-6 nights. You are going to encourage a different type of guest. So that's what we actually do with landlords. It's not just like a one shoe fits all. It's like we actually partner with you to work with you. For example, we've got a landlord who's living in Spain at the moment. So like he comes back every other month just to stay at his property. So it's like we'll just work around that. That's fine. So we do give a lot of flexibility to landlords.
Yeah, yeah. Just as well, I signed a landlord last week. She's moving to Saudi Arabia. She's got a 3-bed property in Salford. She wants to come back to the UK next year during July and August time, and she wants to ideally come back and use her property. If she was to rent that to a long-term tenant, she's not going to get access to it, and she's just lost control completely. So for her, it's not about the money, it's about the control. She wants to move back into a property next year, and that's a solution we can provide. So we're giving her that control and flexibility, but also she's going to earn while she's in Saudi Arabia. We're going to earn as much as possible for her.
And then you're kind of reeling it back to your journey. You just went on this spree of going to estate agents, driving as much business to you as possible, getting as many units on board.
Yeah.
Did it ever feel like it got out of hand or like was too much?
Yeah. Me and Kieran have had some rough times, to be honest. You know, it's a very Airbnb and service accommodation without the right systems, without the right team. It's a very messy business, and we realised that when we had 20 properties. So when you've got 20 properties, there's a mammoth worth of tasks going on. You know, complaints. You've got guests asking, calling you left, right, and centre. Loads of issues. So it's really hard to get control over it, and it was very overwhelming at times. You know, we had to sort of put the pieces together of the puzzle and find out where we can hire to systemize this part, where we can hire to systemize that part, where can we free up our time to actually grow. It did get out of hand. You know, we went through spells where our review score dropped pretty significantly. So it's like, right, what's the solution? And it's hard to figure that out when you're at 20, 30 units. You'd rather figure that out early on. So that's why we do help people that are just starting out. We put the systems in their business from day one so they don't have to go through all that.
Yeah, because there's just so many things you got. When we're talking, because I say we work in the same office.
Yeah.
Talking about just all the different things you have to deal with and juggle on a day-to-day basis of just things like handling all the different guests across all the different properties, making sure that things are being kept really clear for the landlord, things that are properties being kept to a good condition, cleaners are being communicated with, VAs are being communicated with, all whilst trying to maintain a really high score because if you have a low score, everything drops. And you know what I mean? It's like, It sounds like such a crazy business. How did you learn to overcome all of that? How have you grown? What is the sort of process of building a team and the systems and the processes to make that manageable?
I don't think you ever really find a balance with it, for being honest with you. You just sort of just get stuck in it and just keep going. Like, it's like even when looking on reflection, people speak to me, oh, you've done 220k last month in revenue, you've got 70 properties. Like, I don't even think about it. I'm just so focused on tunnel vision on the next part, but issues will come up, and as you start making more money, it's like, you realistically need to buy back your time to focus on sales and marketing. And that's one thing we've been really good at. It's like, we know the main actual thing in this business is to drive new business through the door. So if operations going wrong or crappy reviews, I'm like, we don't need to be dealing with that. What we need to do is then build SOPs around it, hire for it, and get these people to then take care of them tasks so we can focus on the main things, which is content. How do we market? How do we get more people through the door?
Hire people with more knowledge than you as well.
Yeah.
That's what we did. Our first VA that we hired,
It's crazy.
she worked for a US-based Airbnb company with like 300 units. She came into our business and absolutely bossed us around, didn't she? She was like, lads, what is going on? We're like, what are you doing? You need to get this in place. You need to get that in place. So what I'd say is, when things start getting really busy, it takes your focus away from the high value tasks, which is, getting more properties on, acquisitions, etc. So what you want to do is, a lot of it's trial and error, but you want to hire as early as possible and hire people with more experience than you into the team in those areas. Me and Kieran are not customer service managers. Me and Kieran are not experts in hospitality. At the end of the day, we've come from sales background, so that's where our skills lie and that's where our focus is in the company. So we hired in those areas like customer service, like hospitality, like maintenance, for example, just because me and Kieran
Yeah.
are not skilled in those areas.
Like I said, I can't pay a wall or do anything.
Kieran
like
can't pay
that.
a wall.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like even
I'm like that.
yeah.
I'm so bad.
So even now we've transitioned a bit because like at the start it's like how do we buy back our time, and now it's like, well, we're at 70 units, we want to push for 100 units. So it's like it's trying to hire for that, and that's one thing we're trying to right now. It's like we're getting acquisitions in, we're getting operations in, dedicated revenue manager. We've got 5 VAs now. We're looking at getting another VA to dedicate themselves to maintenance and cleaning.
Yeah.
It's like we are trying to hire before we get there, so we are ready for it. So it's like our profit margins will shrink a bit, but that's completely fine because the bigger picture is how do we get more units. So again, one thing that really changed for us too is when we went to Mallorca a couple months ago with obviously me, him, George, and we actually seen like a bird's eye view of the business, because we weren't actually in the days today of it where you're not dealing with a task. I'm actually away. I'm like, oh, this has gone wrong. Oh, I've seen the way she's handled it. It should be a bit different. It's like, oh, let's create an SOP around this. Let's give them some training. It's like that you get to spot the gaps, but you can only do that once you take yourself out of the business. So one thing me and him consciously do now is like, once a month we are trying to go away just for like a week or a couple of days, just get away from the office, get away from Manchester, see can the business run without us. It's a test for us because it's like we want to take it to the next level, but we've also got to learn the skills for that as well. But we're not going to do that unless we actually challenge ourselves a bit.
If you're in the day to day, you lose your creativity on actually building the business and building a team. Because I always say it's like a jigsaw puzzle. So you have to put the pieces together, and if you're in it, you're not going to be able to do that. But if you sat on top, then you're going to be able to do that more effectively. So one thing we learned when we went to Mallorca, did a little work retreat out there, the business and operations was fine. The business ran, but the business, what we realised, didn't grow. But the business needs us to grow. So we thought, right, the next step for us now is hiring acquisitions.
Hiring for growth.
Let's get a consultant in to deal with the leads, to close landlords, and then we can keep being creative, doing what we do best, and grow the company.
Because there's a bigger game to play. Like we're at 70 units right now. People can look and say, you're doing well, you do. I'm just like, Sites Cottages, for example, they've got 21,000 listings across the UK. They've not got there by just playing small. You need to play big. It's like if I don't get paid for the next year or so just to reinvest in the business, I'll do it. The way I look at it is I've got nothing to lose. Again, you can say I've got all this to lose, but I don't really play my mind too much. I want to get to that next stage.
What's the difference between a 10, 15 unit portfolio of rent-to-rents or just service accommodation units and 70? How does it look differently now to when you first left your jobs?
Staff.
Yeah.
Like you can't grow past 30 units without a good team. You really can't. Your reviews will go down. You won't be managing properties effectively. You'll have unhappy landlords. You need a team. So I think when we had 30 units, we had a couple of VAs working full time. Now we've got 5 VAs. That's split between 4 guest comms VAs full time, and then we've got an admin VA who helps out with maintenance, property listings, and sort of a PA. To be fair, she does all sorts for us. Yeah, she's a goat. Then we've got my mum. So I hired my mum full time into the business. She's the operations manager. So what she does, she looks after the 5 VAs. She deals with escalations with guests. She manages the reviews. She tracks the feedback from guests and then implements new SOPs into the business. Then we've got Angel. She is UK-based full-time revenue manager. What her role is, she essentially handles all the business contacts. So like Kieran said, Airbnb is matured as a platform. So a lot of businesses are using Airbnb to find accommodation. So we track all of these business contacts that have stayed with us through an online check-in form. And we've got a list of probably 1,500 business contacts now, UK-wide, that have stayed with us. So it's her job to nurture those relationships, close more bookings, and get as much out of them as possible. She does other bits as well, like converting OTA bookings into direct to make us more money. So it's revenue manager. And we've got Shaniqua, who helps us out on a consultancy basis. You've got me, who's purely acquisitions, Kieran, operations director, and then George, who handles all the clients. So it's pretty big operation now, to be honest.
It's crazy. You don't actually think of it until you look back. Like for example, now speaking about it, it's like it does sound crazy, but because you're just so focused, like right, I need to get to the next day to get more clients on board. You don't even think about it. So
it's been wild seeing you grow. Because the office that we're both in, I joined in December 2024. I think I moved over from another office and moved into the one you guys are in, and I remember it was just you two, and you'd just be locked away in rooms recording Loom videos for your SOPs to send out to your VAs, and you were really at that sort of, it felt like you were very much at that early stage where you were so in the business
Mm.
and you were in the process of training up your staff and hiring staff to make it work. And it's been crazy to see the growth since then to now having people, you know, in the UK that you work for full time, a bigger team that you work with. It's just, yeah, it's really impressive.
It's mad because we're just like two normal lads. We didn't think we'd get to this point. It's just like we're just trying to get through every single day. It's like when you look back, like for example, when we go away, it's like have got a full team at home who actually do rely on us. It's like we have to show up every single day. But that's what I mean. Like that's why but to be fair, like, I do really love work. Like there's not really a day that I don't enjoy it. But sometimes when there is a lot of issues, like for God's sake, but it's part of the process. It's part of any business. And if you want to grow, then there's going to be growing pains.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who look at this sort of business and get quite excited about it, and they jump onto, especially maybe people who aren't in the property space. They look at it and go, I'd love to have a holiday let.
Yeah.
What's your experience with holiday lets? Because loads of people, when I say Airbnb, they think you know, a house near the beach in Cornwall. Whereas you guys seem to be doing city centre stuff. You're doing houses in not necessarily holiday destinations. What's your sort of experience with that, and what your thoughts around it?
Yeah. Well, holiday lets are it's a market we want to tap into. We're looking at businesses like, for example, Sykes Cottages. They've got loads of holiday lets, and the revenue they're pulling in per property is absolutely insane. Holiday lets turn over way more than your typical terraced house or, you know, your apartment in a city centre. But the thing is, with holiday lets, it's purely leisure and tourism, whereas our primary business focus is your corporate market. We do get leisure, mainly in the weekends, in places like Manchester, Leeds, other areas, Cheshire, for example. But Monday to Friday, we are pretty much filled with contractors all the time. So that's the difference. With a holiday let, it's purely leisure and tourism. It's great because you can charge really high nightly rates. Your length of stay is probably going to be 2 nights. But if you was to get a house on the outskirts of a city centre, 3 beds plus ideally, you know, you find your average length of stay might be 5 nights, for example, and the guest type or guest profile is more corporate. Both markets work really well, and we're trying to now tap into the holiday lets because it'd be nice to get like a nice house in the Lake District, for example, one of these really unique homes that we can use to advertise and market the business.
Like a flagship property.
Yeah, for sure.
Big mansion on the lake.
I mean, we've got a few. I mean, one of our properties in Manchester, it's a 3-bedroom townhouse on Newton Street, right in the city centre next to Stevenson Square. That is a leisure property. Our average length of stay is 2 nights there, and we're pulling in 300 plus a night.
Last month we done over 10k, didn't it?
10k in revenue from one property.
I think the profit on that was like 4k.
Yeah.
It was mad.
Yeah, that is crazy. So it's not that, because I've heard people say holiday lets aren't very good because it's so seasonal.
I think it depends on where you are. Like if you're in like the Lake District, people will go there during the winter, but you've also got to think in the market you are tapping into. Like we went to like an Airbnb conference not too long ago, and they were saying like if you have like a hot tub and sauna, then it increases your ROI by like 18%.
Yeah.
So you've got to think, well, if you're going for a leisure place in like the Lake District, if they've got, it's mainly for summer, but then if you've got hot tub and sauna in there, you're going to attract people in winter either way.
Yeah.
So it will be like an all-round thing for you. Whereas like the thing within like Manchester, because it's city, you're targeting corporate clients, universities, hospitals, places where people come from other major cities, it can be quite seasonal, specifically around January to like April time.
Yeah. We find our apartments in Manchester, because they're more focused, city centre properties are more leisure, so they're more seasonal. But our houses, for example, on the outskirts, because you've got both the contracts and leisure market, so even when there's no events happening, people still need to work. You've still got projects, you've still got regeneration, you've still got developments, you've still got skyscrapers being built in Manchester, so people need accommodation. So the corporate market, that's why it's so strong, is because landlords can get consistent income all year round, because there's always a demand, people need to work, whereas your leisure property is a bit more up and down, but still really strong returns.
Have you seen any properties that don't work, or are there properties that you go, we're not even going to go near that because we just feel like it isn't going to work?
Yeah, we get 5 to 10 leads a day. I'd say 2 properties a day are qualified.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it could be a 2-bed house in the middle of nowhere, poor quality, poor furniture, the landlord don't want to spend money on it to get to where it needs to be. Just not going to work. Is it near the train station? Has it got public transport in the area? No, probably not going to work. Is there other hotels in the area? No, probably not going to work. You know, not every property is suited for Airbnb and short lets.
What's crazy though, I feel like in some areas, like, doesn't it even matter though.
Yeah.
Like, there's like some properties there, like I've seen, it's in the middle of nowhere, but because it's the only property on the market and they've optimised it really well, because there's no competition, they get booked anyway.
Yeah.
Like, a main driving factor for us to actually see whether a property will work or not if it's like existing hotels in the area, because hotels, they've already done their market research, they're not going to commit to a lease unless they know it's going to work. But some of these properties, again, in the middle of nowhere, they can just fly because they are the other product there. So again, yeah, it comes down to that as well.
So when someone says, you know, I'm interested in renting my property as an Airbnb unit or as a service accommodation unit, you guys would, before you even maybe even jump on a call, would vet it and go, is this property even going to work?
I'd still call them. I still call, because what we find is a lot of the leads come in, it might be a postcode in Blackpool, yeah, an area we're not keen on, but they might just live in Blackpool, they might put their postcode in, but they might have properties elsewhere. Landlords might have portfolios, so although this property is not right, that's still worth having a conversation and seeing what else he might have, or she, for example. So yeah, you qualify them on the call. For example, I spoke to a landlord today. He's got a 5-bed detached house in Blackburn, not an area that would scream to do well on Airbnb. However, it's on the golf course. It's fully refurbed. It's kitted out to a really high level. So like Kieran mentioned, that house, it's in a bit of a middle of nowhere, not much demand, but also the supply is really low. So although the demand's smaller, the demand is going to come to you first if you've got a property like that. So again, I qualified that lead that I'm meeting next week, because that is a property we would be interested in.
Yeah, I was going to say, give me an example of a property that just flat out would not work. But to be honest, from what it sounds like you're saying, is you could have said a big house in Blackburn's probably in the middle of nowhere is probably not going to work. But because there's small variables, like it's by the golf course,
Unique features.
The supply isn't that high. Everything's a little bit. There's so much nuance to each property. I suppose you just kind of have to try and.
It's a lot to do with trial and error. It's like you can only like speak to landlords so much to say. It's like most of the time we do turn down landlords a lot. It's like it might not work. It's probably better to go down an AST route, but they're adamant they want to try it. So we'll work with them. Sometimes the properties just surprise us, and sometimes they don't perform as well. So it's just like we don't really know until we actually perform in an area. Like for example, we take some in Cheshire where we know it works really well. If a landlord comes to us, it's like I can tell you the exact figures because I know what we achieve already. So again, it does come down to trial and error and just using raw data.
Well, when we started, it was sort of early doors. I think it was like March. We got approached by a landlord who had like 21 apartments in Bradford. So me and Kieran was absolutely buzzing. We thought we hit the jackpot here. We can make 5-6 grand a month straight away, and we can quit our jobs. We went and viewed the property, met the landlord. Genuinely, they looked like prison cells. There was already existing essays. He was actually getting bookings in. That's a crazy thing. He was getting bookings in, but the profile of the property just did not match our brand whatsoever. No. And at the time, we was really thinking about it as well, weren't we? We was debating it and was like, oh, because you're thinking about the money. That's all that matters at the start. But we did turn that down, luckily. We've turned a lot of properties down because they just, one, don't work, or two, just don't match our brand at all.
I think that would have made us quit.
Yeah, that could have broke us.
Yeah. I think the good thing about Airbnb, and I've said this to you as well, is because you've not got that commitment to a tenant and a tenant in there that has rights, you could genuinely just say, I'm going to give it 3 to 6 months, try it. If it doesn't work, fine, we just rent it out as we were going to anyway.
100%.
And if it does work, the potential upside is massive. How can because I want to give people listening and watching this as much value as possible. So I wouldn't normally do this, but I'm just thinking about what I would find helpful. Can I put a link in the description of this where they can fill out a form or get in touch with you guys where you can qualify whether their property would work?
Yeah.
Can we do something like that? Cool.
Yeah, just all we need is postcode of the property, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and some pictures.
Yeah.
So we can create a type form.
Yeah.
Or we can add a link to our website where they can fill out the form directly on there.
Yeah,
And
cool,
then I can have a conversation.
Because I just think it's just like such a game changer, and it also feels like so low risk for such a potential huge upside. So yeah, just to offer value to people, click the link in the description, whatever that's going to be. It'll take you to somewhere where these guys can help you out. But I think, because I've even said it about my own house, haven't I? I was like, I'm tempted to just move out of my own home and rent it as a service accommodation with you guys, because it would just perform so well.
You're nearly there, aren't you?
I am close.
Nearly got him.
Yeah. If we were talking about then taking a bit of a turn to pitfalls, right?
Yeah.
The people who have given it a go and it's just gone wrong, or maybe some units that you've tried, or maybe some through lack of systems or right team. What are some of the biggest pitfalls that you see regularly Airbnb operators make?
Doing one night stays.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That is like danger zone. Don't
Killer.
do it. Yeah, because you attract the wrong guest profile. A lot of turnover. Realistically, if they're not experienced, the property's not going to be looked after. So unless you go in there after every checkout, you just lose a lot of control. The landlord's going to be fuming about how the property's being treated. They might want to pull the plug. Other mistakes, taking on deals that are just not set to do well. So not doing your correct due diligence, taking a property for a rent to rent. For a lot of people, they're putting the hard-earned money into this, £6,000 to £10,000 in a deal. It needs to work, and a lot of people miss the due diligence before they take a unit on. Is it in an area where there's regeneration? Is the hotels? Is the universities? Is the hospitals in the area? And we try and say, if it's not got 3 of those 4 things, just move on to the next one. So they'll list a property. They will spend thousands on furniture. They'll be spending 2 weeks at a time painting the walls themselves, getting really excited. And then they list it, and then the booking's not coming in, or they're not getting the nightly rates that they hope for. And then they're tied into a contract with realistically a 12-month break clause. So they've got another 12 months before they can exit that deal.
I'd say just advertising on just Airbnb and Booking.com.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people miss that there's a small niche for like corporate travel agents, and that's something I think we do really well. So a lot of people rely, I think, if you put it on Airbnb, Booking.com, you get filled out. Yeah, that's good. But like, for example, we've got a contractor at the moment who's staying in 4 of our properties, and the booking value is like 198 grand. So she booked one of our properties in September last year. She come to us saying, well, we need more properties in the area. We secured a few more rent to rent, and now like they booked it out like till the end of, I think it's April or May next year. And they did say they might be needing to extend as well. So it's like, well, we know that booking value is 198k. And just a quick example in the guaranteed rent one we took on, we sourced a property for ourselves. We rented it, deposit, stage and furnish, and we made our money back in like 2 months from it. Purely because we had the contract in place to go in. We got paid up front.
That's a recent one we've done. Recent rent to rent we've done. We got our money back in 2 months.
Yeah, that's really good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Sheesh. Okay, tell me the worst story, the biggest horror story of a Airbnb guest. Hit me with it.
I wouldn't say it's a horror story for me. I don't know if yours is a bit different. Mine was when we was first started out, because we didn't get educated, we didn't have the right stuff in place. We did have a big scare like towards the start of last year. So someone stayed at one of our properties, an Airbnb, and she said like, I think it was her husband who had burnt himself. He wasn't a part of the actual stay itself, but luckily, because we have got air cover insurance, she did say she wanted 10 grand. Otherwise, she's going to like sue us and go legal. And we were just scared. Like, I was having sleepless nights. I was like, what is going on?
Kieran was panicking. He was panicking.
Yeah, I proper panic and stuff like this. I'm like, all this hard work I've been putting in to try and grow something. It worked out. Her husband wasn't even on the booking, and we looked at it was a scar already. So she just tried to claim us. I was panicking. I was ready to like even give her some money to get to shut up. Luckily, it didn't, because then she'll be like, well, what exactly? She was asking for some money now, but I thought if we give her some money now, she'll try and take it further, which she did try to do.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'm scared.
That's rough. So as a result, what have you put in place, or what did you put in place, or what have you put in place since then to prevent that?
Insurance.
Yeah.
We didn't have all the things in place when we started. We didn't know this, and that's where it proper scared us. We were like, right, we need to get this in.
What have you put in? Sorry,
like all the insurance and stuff.
Like, so you got insurance for that?
Because we didn't get educated, we didn't fully know everything. But because we was advertising through Airbnb, luckily we've got air cover, so that was good. But if we would have come direct or through anywhere else, we would have. Yeah,
and if you just jump straight to insurance, though, you could be paying out and claiming on stuff that you don't need to. Like you said, you were able to have a look, and it wasn't even a
Yeah,
a
it
real thing.
wasn't.
People
We
were just
proper
trying to.
evaluated. Had other people come look. It's like, well, fine, and she didn't even chase after that. So it's like,
Yeah.
well, she just tried to have us on, and
Yeah.
that was like a proper scare for us.
But a LinkedIn, I remember looking at LinkedIn, it said she was a paralegal. So I was like, no, she's a lawyer as well.
So yeah, she knows
So we
how to
really
take-
believed what she was saying, to be
Yeah.
honest. But yeah, luckily that didn't happen. And going forward, we're just absolutely bulletproof now.
Yeah.
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 Everything.
What's yours? Biggest
What's
horror
mine?
story.
It's right.
Say
So
it.
we've got a property in Liverpool.
You already know
Do
what
you
he's
which
going to
one
say.
it is?
Nah, I don't.
No,
think
right.
so.
You'll know in a minute. We've got an apartment in Liverpool, and it's in an apartment block.
I know it.
You know it now. We've got a really good relationship with the building manager. We speak to him on a regular basis. He sorts out maintenance issues. We've got quite a few in this block, right? And I got a call from the building manager. He said, "Kieran, you've got prostitutes in your apartment." So I'm like, "Okay, are you sure?" He's like, "Are you sure it's this number? It's our flat number." He said, "They've wrote your flat number on the wall in the corridor." So what's happened is this woman, she was staying there for 2 weeks, signed the T's and C's, give us her ID. We've got a security deposit. So from our perspective, she's vetted.
Yeah.
She's in. She was Malaysian, I think. She was basically bringing different men in every single day, and there must have been a really angry client. He's come back to the property with buckets of oil and started spraying the corridors with oil. And he must have had a paintbrush, and he was painting on the walls like brothel
Yeah,
number,
number 11.
and then our number, yeah.
No.
And then but then was going 2 to 3 floors higher and spraying those walls as well in a residential apartment block. So this guy's rang me and said, "Kieran, it's a mess. Like, I can't believe it." And I was thinking, "Oh, it can't be that bad." And he sent me the pictures, and we was like, "Oh my God." So luckily we had a solution, because we had a deposit on file and we had a card details. So as part of our T's and C's, if they damage over £250, we can charge the card. We ended up getting like £2,000 from a card. She already checked out, obviously, and we had to basically pay the building manager like £1,000 to repaint all the walls.
That is mad.
Yeah.
This is the thing, though. This is the thing that I kind of like about it, is that you have those things in place. Because, like, you have horror stories. And the reason why I wanted to share it is because you have these horror stories, because you're always going to, it's business and it's property and it's people. There's always going to be some kind of a horror story.
Yeah.
The thing that's good is that as a landlord, you can take, let's say you take a £700 deposit. If it goes over that, tough, it's on you.
Yeah.
Whereas you can literally just go, right, it's cost more than that, charge the card, there you
Charge the
go.
card.
And
Yeah.
so although it's a bit of a nightmare, it's a nightmare that isn't going to sink you or your landlord.
Yeah.
We've got pretty good at this, because obviously issues come up, especially when we first started out, and this was during our early days when it happened. We've developed such thick skin now. When a problem comes to us, even if that happened again, I wouldn't flinch, because we just need to focus on the solution. And that's what we did at the time. It was like, right, okay, really sorry about what's happened. And we sent painters that same day, and they repainted all the corridors, and it was done.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
never happened.
Yeah. And now I bet you kind of are able to move forward with things in place to stop that sort of thing happening. Or
Yeah, we've still got the property. We still manage apartments in that apartment block. We've still got a good relationship with him. And he actually appreciated how quick we was to respond and how we dealt with it. A lot of people, if they are inexperienced, they might go in panic mode and, sometimes even run away,
yeah.
just hide away from the problem. But if you come to these landlords, if you come to your clients with solutions, even when things go wrong, they actually respect you way more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy.
Did you expect that?
No, I wasn't
No.
expecting that. No.
There's a few more, but we won't go into it.
Yeah, don't need
Yeah.
to go into all of them. But no, it's good to hear that things can happen, because the reality is so many people jump on social media and try and make it sound all glamorous. Like, you're going to make $5,000 a month. You're going to make, after a few costs here and there, it's going to be $3,000 profit. You're going to be in the clear every month, $36,000 a year. You could quit your job, financially free, job done. That's how it's sometimes portrayed.
Yeah.
And I think you guys, you have a YouTube channel as well now. You've just started that, I saw. So, which is very exciting. I'm excited about that. I'll put a link to it in the description as well. But you're very real with it, because the reality is it does make, in most cases, it makes a significant amount more than a standard buy-to-let. But there's also a balance to be had of, there is the reality of sometimes having these issues crop up, and it's learning to not be naive and realise problems will come up, but we have these systems and people in place and processes to mitigate it and also fix it very quick.
Yeah, we try and get our landlords to have a bit of a mindset shift, because landlords that have not done this before, they're in the buy-to-let mindset, get tenants in, and it's just an asset. But when they move to us, the mindset needs to shift. It's an asset, but it's a business now. And in business, things do go wrong and stuff can happen like that. So we always, manage expectations with our landlords. When we are onboarding, your property it's now a business. You're in this business with us. We're partnered in this. And that helps, because if that landlord, for example, was still in that buy-to-let mindset, normal tenant mindset, he would have kicked off big time. But we managed the expectations before we even onboarded the client.
It comes down to all these systems you got in place. Like every time you onboard a new landlord, it's like, well, you need to make sure you got contents insurance, make sure you got buildings insurance as well. And it's like just taking it a step further with that. It's like, let's get minute devices to make sure your property is protected, because at the end of the day, they're trusting £300,000-400,000 house of us. Like, we want to make sure we're protecting it as good as possible. So I want, if an issue is to come up, we can just deal with it there and then. But that's what happens with experience, though. You do put these things in place.
Yeah. So getting into a little bit of the tactics now, what is needed to manage an Airbnb unit? Like, actually, what do I actually need? Do I need like software? What do I need? All the different things that can get me started. If someone's watching this and thinking, I want to kick on, you said you've been teaching people how to start their rent-to-rent business, Airbnb business. What does someone need if they want to get started doing something like this?
Well, there's a few basic softwares that people need. So obviously you have like a channel manager. So this like integrates all your booking platforms like Airbnb, Booking.com, Verbo. So that way, if someone's booking an Airbnb, they know what to book on Booking.com. It then cancels that calendar out, so no one can book in them specific dates.
It's kind of centralizes all the different platforms.
You can do all your messages through there, do all your automations, can collect your guest IDs, do your T's and C's through there, get your safety deposits. The next one's Turno. This was like a big shift for us near the start. Even when we speak to landlords now who do Airbnb, they still haven't got this in place. So this like centralizes your cleaning as well. So that syncs up to your channel manager. So instead of like me manually asking cleaners to go to the property to clean this, every time a booking comes in, it creates a cleaning task for them, so they can know exactly when to clean the property. Then we have price labs, which is dynamic pricing. So that keeps up with like the seasonality trends. So for example, when I was saying that property before that made us 10 grand last month, that's all down to price labs and how you set your pricing up. So that tracks seasonality, occupancy, events going in the area, just keeps you in line with all that stuff. They're the main ones.
So automate changes in pricing. So let's say Oasis are in town doing a big event. A big gig, it will bump the prices up because it knows.
Yeah, we had one property that Newton Street done £800 a night for 3 nights, so it made us over £2,400.
Yeah,
it's great just because of that software.
Yeah, you can take it a step further. Like we now actually have a pricing manager who manages our price labs account and changes it daily. But there are settings on there that you can tweak. So you do your minimum stay settings on there. You can apply your last minute discounts. So for example, if property, as you get closer to a certain date, the prices will start dropping. You can add your weekly and monthly discounts on there, for example. So you can sort of alter it per property. Every property is different. So you can take price labs that step further. Yeah, it will increase or decrease the rates, but you can control it as well to a certain extent.
So you said that you're making 230k a month. That's what you did last month. And
Yeah.
I know that because, like I say, we work in the same office. I saw it on your laptop. It's really impressive. What does that break down to? What does that look like?
Yeah, so the 230, so like I said earlier, that includes our management portfolio and also our rent-to-rent portfolio. So at the moment, we've got 10 rent-to-rents right now. We've gave back a few. And then in the management business, we've got 60 properties. So that's the revenue combined because we use one channel manager. So that 230, the management business did 180 grand in revenue. Obviously, that's clients' money. It's not all ours. So our average management fee is around 15%, excluding VAT. So 15% of 180, you're about 27 grand in profit. There are other ways that you can increase your margin in your management business. For example, we've got damage waivers, which is something we've just implemented into the company. We've got additional commission on direct bookings. We've got late checkouts. We've got early check-ins and different upsells that we offer to guests. So our profit for the month in the management business it sat around 34k last month. And then our rent-to-rent business, because it was July, the rest of the revenue was that. And we did about 15 grand in profit in our rent-to-rent business last month from 10 properties.
Yeah, I think as a whole we linger between like 40 to 50k a month. But as we continue to grow, we're expected to pass that. I think we will pass it in the next month or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could probably, I imagine, get things systemized now to the point where you're making your 40, 50k a month profit, and you can just have a bit of an easier life. He's shaking your head already. What?
I don't know.
So it's a no.
It's a no.
To that.
It's a no.
What's the goal? What's the future?
Well, you look at, I mean, we think big. Like we look at Sykes Cottages. They've got 21,000 listings. Imagine the numbers they're pulling in. Cottages.com, thousands of units. We're not thinking let's get to 100 and that's the goal. We're thinking we want to get to thousands of units. So right now we've hired to get to 100. So our margins right now are tighter than what they will be at 100 because the team we've got now is going to get us to 100. Then when we get to 100, we're going to think, right, how do we get this to 200? How do we double it in the next 12 months? And then when we get to that 12-month period, how do we double it again? How do we get to 400? What does the team look like? Where can we reinvest? Because me and Kieran reinvest everything. Yeah. We pay ourselves minimal amounts every single month, and we invest everything back into the business, back into the team. There was times where, for a good 4 or 5 months, our staff were getting paid a hell of a lot more than us, purely because we reinvested.
Part of the fun.
Do you still pay yourselves $1,000 a month?
$1,000 a month, and then
I see.
It's great.
$1,000 a month, and then the rest, if we want to, in dividends.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Whatever we need to survive.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, beans and rice.
Yeah.
Beans on toast for you.
Yeah. So you want to get to that. What does the next 12 months look like? What's the game plan?
Well, we're currently at 70 units now. I think by the time we finish this year, we do want to be at 100 units. I think we could get 200 plus by the end of next year. We've not actually set like a specific goal for it, but I do know that once we hire acquisitions and then we focus on the 4 main things of how we generate sales, it's like, let's just up it. Like, we're getting to the point soon, it's like we need to double our ad spend. Like, if we're closing 2 deals a week, why not 4? So eventually we're going to try and get something we can actually fulfill that. So we get acquisitions in next, look at hiring someone full-time for staging to actually like fulfill the staging these properties. And it's just all go. It's like, right, how do we get to the next level? Do we need to hire someone else? Where it's like a big puzzle. You're always trying to like fit it together. So
yeah, I mean, the way we try and look at it is, we build it to a point and then we backfill ourselves. So, for example, Kieran has backfilled himself in operations because my mum's moved into the operations manager role. Yeah. We've hired more VAs, we're hiring another VA. Whereas me, I'm in acquisitions right now. I've been closing 2 landlords a week for the past few months now. Now it's like, right, we're at a point where we can backfill me. And then I'll have a brand new role, which I'll then eventually be able to backfill. And then you've got George on client fulfillment. If clients I've got a question or query, whatever it might be, George handles that at the moment, but there's no reason why we can't backfill George with a client account manager. Yeah. And then George goes into a new role, and then George backfills himself again. Yeah, so that's the game plan. You just backfill yourself. Yeah.
Just keep replacing your time. There's a book on this by Dan Martell, I think it's called. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's called Buy Back Your Time, but it's something like that. That's the principle. It is just, rather than thinking about what's the big team that I need to build this business, it's what do I spend my time on now, and who can I bring in to replace what I'm spending most of my time on, the lowest value task I do. And then you replace yourself there. Then it's another review of what am I spending my time on now, who do I replace. You just keep replacing yourself, you'll automatically know who to hire and when. Because you're just looking at your time, what's the lowest value task, and how can you outsource it.
100%. The next point was about like just hiring A players. Like, you're big on that as well. Like, if you pay, you get what you pay for, especially with staff. That's something that we've learned. If you hire A players with more knowledge than you, ideally more experience than you, they're going to take your business to the next level, and that's what we're looking to. Specifically within acquisitions, we want to get, and we're happy to pay the extra for, a proper consultant that's going to take ownership of that role, take ownership of the leads, and take the business to the next level, and we're not scared to pay the price for it.
Yeah, it's mad though, 'cause it's like we're at 70 units now, but we're still pretty new to business. We've been doing it for less than 2 years. It's like we don't even know if this is the right move. So it's like we're just sort of like using other people's like knowledge, like, right, do we just try it? Do we take the risk? The way I look at it is like, can we just like keep doing this for another couple of years? Can we like actually build a proper team so that it can work without us? 'Cause it does happen, it does work without us, but it just doesn't grow as efficiently without us. So it's just about bridging these gaps together.
Without taking the analogy too far, you both mentioned the puzzle thing of like, if you're in it, you can't really see it, but when you have a bit of a bird's eye view and you can have a better perspective of it, you can figure out what piece needs to go where. How do you, using that analogy, how do you do that when you've not got the experience? So like, you want to get to where Sykes cottages are, you want to get to the thousands of units. I'm guessing no one in that company is sitting down with you telling you exactly what the next step is, what the next piece of the puzzle looks like. So I know you're big advocates for invest in education. So how I'm guessing what you're doing is educating yourselves from people who are that maybe 2 steps ahead of you, and learning to just grow to the next level, then to the next level, then to the next level. Because I know that you're doing that with other people who are behind you guys, so maybe someone who's got 1, 2, 3, 10 units, and teaching them how to do the next thing. How do you do that for yourselves?
Well, but we're at the stage right now, it's like I don't really know too much people above us in terms of like, I don't know where we even rank in terms of Airbnb operators in the UK, but I reckon it's like top 0.001% in terms of how many units we've got. It's like, how do we get in with these other people? I don't know if you really can, but it's more looking at other businesses, like in terms of different industries and how they've done it. Like that's why like right now it's like we're so focused on sales and marketing, and to me it's like these 4 main ways you can actually like bring business in. So you've got to bring business in, then fulfill it. So like SEO, advertisements, referrals, and cold calling. It's like we can dial in our ads, up our ad spend, get a better ad sets out, do cold calls, so reach out to the right people. For example, Kieran posts on LinkedIn, I post on LinkedIn every day. We're about to meet a developer next week who's got 28 units he might be passing on to us. So that's like cold outreach done there. Then it's like, are we building out the SEO all the time? We don't actually know until we probably look back in hindsight, but it's just like, we just got to keep reinvesting in the business, sales and marketing, and see what comes of it.
It's trial and error. The reality is you've got to spend a bit of cash to learn, to be honest. We've put money into projects that have not worked out. We thought this was a way to grow the business. It's not worked out. We've invested into this. We've invested into that. Ultimately, it's just trial and error. You've got to keep as much money in the business so you've got more money to play with. Don't, when you start making money in rent to rent or any business, I'd say don't take it all out and pay yourself all this amount of money. Keep it in the business. If you want to grow, you need money to play around with. Like we've wasted money on a lot of things that haven't worked out, but at least we've learned that this doesn't work for us. Let's try the next thing. A lot of it's trial and error. We invested in a mentor early on in our days. That's great, and I do recommend people do that for sure. But then ultimately you are on your own in business. You are on your own, so you have to sort of learn yourself as well, trial and error.
And I bet you found that even from the education that you've had from people, it's all well and good having the knowledge and getting taught that, but there does come a point where now you're at 70 units, someone can tell you until they're blue in the face what to do. You actually have to go out and do it. And then when you do it, you get your own experience, your own take on it, your way of handling things, your way of putting systems and processes in place, and it kind of becomes your thing. So you get a bit of knowledge, you plug it in as much as you can, but ultimately you still have to put the work in and do it yourself.
It comes down to what you said before, like when people like left work for the first time in property, they're twiddling the thumbs, they don't really know what to do. It's like everyone, realistically, if you're watching this, you're trying to scale your Airbnb business, you know exactly what you need to do to get to the next level. And that's focusing on sales and marketing, keep the main thing. Operation stuff, you can hire for that. You need to be focused on bringing the business in. You have to be the number one sales guy in your business until you can afford to hire someone else. So that's the way I look at it.
I don't actually think many people do know that though. Maybe they do. Maybe they do, but I do think there are a lot of people who, I don't know. Yeah, maybe they do know it.
I think realistically,
that you need to go out and but maybe in terms of order of what to do first. Maybe a lot of people know that they obviously need to go and build their business, get landlords on board or get clients on board. but they feel like their business, their offer, their service isn't ready, and so they spend ages perfecting a service that nobody's buying.
I see that all the time.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. They want to perfect everything before they then go out to the market and pitch the business. Like you always say, the what's your punchy line now? The real work is in the work you're avoiding.
Magic's in the work you're avoiding.
Yeah, that's the one. He loves his liners. But it's true. I do think it's true, to be honest with you. Like, people know that they need to get the faces out there, get the names out there, make the calls, do the meetings, etc. But they're avoiding that, and they're thinking they're busy because they're perfecting the product they've not even got yet. If that makes sense. They just need to get yourself out there. Landlords will buy into you because people buy into people.
Yeah.
Business is a reflection of you at the end of the day. So it's like, again, if people look at us from the outside, it's like, well, it's how many units we've got. It's because we're focusing on the main thing. And I don't think we're anywhere near where we need to be. Like, the amount of work I think we need to put in to get to that next level. And again, I just think it's just a massive game.
Yeah.
I do enjoy playing it, and you want to play at the highest level as well.
Yeah.
If you've got people listening to this who are really inspired, because I think they will be really inspired by what you guys have achieved, before I wrap up, what advice would you give them? What's your kind of parting words that you'd want to say to someone who is ambitious, driven? Maybe they're in recruitment and they're thinking, I want to be my own boss, and this is something I think I'd love to do. What advice would you give those people, to your younger selves maybe?
It might be cliche, but they just need to take action. Like, they're avoiding it, they're beating around the bush, they think there's not a perfect time to start, and that's what everyone's searching for. Like, there's genuinely not a perfect time. The perfect time was yesterday, and the next best time is today to get started. Start, just do it. Just get the confidence and just do it, and it will pay off. People are too busy finding the perfect time, and you'll never find it.
Yeah, I'd say get educated, and it comes down to what I say again, like, it's the price versus the cost. It's the price you pay now or the cost you pay later. A lot of people I speak to, they're hesitant to even, like, let's say they're coming onto mentorship with us, like, they don't know if it's the right time. Like, you've just got to find that time, you've got to create it. Now, what's I saying now, like, the best time to start was 20 years ago, the next best time is right now. So that's the way I look at it.
Another one there.
Yeah. What in the Alex Hormozy? Yeah. No, I think it's really, really good. I've actually loved chatting. We chat all day, every day, most days, don't we?
Yeah.
Because, as I say, we work in the same space. But seeing you guys graft, a lot of people will maybe listen to this podcast, and I know I would listen to a podcast like this and be really inspired. And I want to make sure people don't think this is super, super easy, but at the same time, it's such a valuable thing to do, to pivot into. I personally I'm looking at doing it myself, moving my portfolio into Airbnb management, and you guys have done amazing. Like, we met 2 years ago. I don't think you'd done anything at that point. Since then, you've come on to build a big team of people. You've got 70 units, you're making 230k a month, you're growing month on month. I've seen the hard graft that you put in behind the scenes, and it's nice that you've got a YouTube channel that people can watch along, and this podcast hopefully gives a bit of an insight into it. But what I don't think people will ever see is the hard work and the hours that you put in behind closed doors to make this a success. Not many people are willing to put that work in, but you guys have. And I would recommend anybody who wants to learn about this stuff, anybody who wants to have their properties managed. I don't normally plug something like this in this way, but because I know you guys, I see you behind the scenes, I trust you with my properties. You guys have a lot of integrity, you put a lot of work in, and I think you're going to outperform all the competition. I don't doubt that you'll get to thousands of units, because you're absolutely smashing it. So well done. It's 2 years and you've absolutely crushed it, and I think give it a few more years and people are going to be pretty blown away with where you'll be up to. So thank you so much thanks for coming on the podcast. You guys are great, and if people want to find you, where can they? I'll put the link to your YouTube, but anywhere else, where can people get in touch?
So we've got a brand new account on Instagram. It's called Kieran and Kieran. Nice and easy. YouTube, Kieran and Kieran. Nice and easy. Just search that, you'll find us. We've not got much content out there at the moment, but again, going back to reinvesting, we're reinvesting heavily into content. We've got some really good videos planned. We're going to give a lot of value to people on the channel, on our pages, that other operators are not giving. And we're really pulling back the curtain. We're just giving away everything for free.
Amazing. Great. All links will be in the description. Thanks so much, guys.
Cool.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Onwards and upwards.
Yeah, let's go.